Troy Torrence, I can't wait to get to work. Let's do that right now. And thank you guys so much for joining us. There's D. Jenkins, ready to rock. We start with the Thursday nighter. September 11th. 8:15 p.m. Eastern. We have the Washington Commanders, 1-0 on the season, their first road game of the year. The Green Bay Packers, who are 1-0 at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. It's 62 Fahrenheit, sunny, 3 miles per hour. I wanted the Green Bay Packers. I think that the consecutive home games, I'm not high on the Commanders. I think they beat up on a really weak football team. But I am not going to say that I am no more or I am better than the market. I'm not going to. This line is not moving in a direction where I could comfortably bet it. So I'm not going to at this point. This opened up. Now, if we go look ahead lines, this opened up at 2.5. Once Sunday night came along, this was a 3.5. This 3.5 opened up at -106. It moved in exactly the area I wanted. It moved up to -3.5 and -115 within 30 minutes. Within 5 minutes of that, it moved to 4. Not only did it move to a 4, but the 4 was juiced. You could have got Washington +4 at -103. That set me up perfectly for a Packers double result. That was the plan. It was offered to me at +125. It was a great price point. And then all I've done is watch this line move towards the Commanders. Now we're sitting here with Green Bay -3.5 at +102. And I'm not going to get in the way of it, unfortunately, at this point. I just am not going to do it. This total is a 48. It's -109 to the over. This opened up at 48.5. It dropped down to 47.5 quite quickly. Now it's at 48. The 47.5 was available for 12 hours or more. Then it went to 48. That's the situation. When we take a look at the cash flow here for our Thursday nighter, we have 63% of the tickets and 70% of the cash on Green Bay. Well, that makes sense to me. You'll see that amount of money on other teams where the line is moving in their direction, and it's extremely appealing. This tells me that I don't know exactly what the hell is going on here. That's what it's telling me. AM is on the Commanders +4 at -110. Rance is on the under 48 here. There's AEOD in the house. Jared TG ready to get to work. 62 Fahrenheit, sunny, 3 miles per hour at Lambeau Field. The Commanders coming off a 21-6 home victory over the New York Giants. Jaden Daniels was 19 of 30 for 233 yards. He also ran 11 times for 68 yards. Deebo Samuel, he led the receivers with 7 catches for 77 yards. He's happy. He has a lot to prove. That was his first game in the Commander uniform. He also ran once for a 19-yard touchdown. With Brian Robertson Jr. now RB2 in San Francisco, 7th-round pick Bill Krosky-Merritt was RB1, and he looked really good. He ran 10 times for 82 yards and a touchdown. Austin Eckler, of course, is dealing with a shoulder injury. He ran 6 times for 26 yards, caught 3 passes for 31 yards. He's listed as questionable this week. Can Bill Krosky-Merritt be an RB1? We saw him do it once. Is this something that he's going to be able to do week in and week out? The offense went 3 of 4 in the red zone. The pass rush got 2 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. The Commanders' red zone defense held New York to 3 points total on 2 trips inside the 5-yard line. Is the defense strong, or is the Giants' offense terrible? The last time we saw this defense was in the NFC final when the Eagles put up 55 points on them. How different are they now? Here, they held the Giants to only 231 yards of offense. They were very effective stopping the run. The Giants gained just 74 yards on the ground, 44 of which came from Russell Wilson. 74 yards on 23 attempts. This Commander defense was 30th against the run last year. Do we believe that it's going to be so much better this year? Or do we believe that the Giants' running game is weak? Their offensive line, Thomas not there again, is weak. This is the most important question in this game, is do we believe what we saw from the Commanders? And I would say no, but if the market's going to go in their direction, I'm not going to get in the way of it. 35-year-old Bobby Wagner played 99% of snaps last year. He was a force again versus the Giants. 10 tackles. Sam Cosme missed the game with a knee injury. The guard, he's unlikely to be available this week. They did trade for Laramie Tunsil. They used their first-round pick on Oregon's Josh Connerly Jr. to fortify the offensive line. They did a good job of shutting down the Giants' vaunted pass rush, especially in the second half when the Giants didn't have a sack. The 3 sacks the Giants had were in the first half. Can they do that to the Packers' very dangerous pass rush? Packers coming off a dominant 27-13 home victory over the Detroit Lions. How public is this bet going to become? How public? Opening a season at home for the first time since 2018, beat the 2-time defending NFC North champions after going 1-5 in divisional games last year. We talked all about it. The Lions had won at Lambeau Field each of the last 3 seasons. Packers won their 13th consecutive home opener, longest such streak since the Miami Dolphins won 13 straight from 1976 to 1988. After getting outscored 99-40 in the first half of NFC North games last year, the Packers got points in their opening 3 possessions, took a 17-3 lead that they wouldn't relinquish. Jordan Love was 16-22 for 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. We know wide receiver Christian Watson recovering from a torn ACL, hoping to be back in November. The Packers were thankful to have Jaden Reed in the lineup. We weren't sure if he was going to be there. He's been dealing with a stress fracture in his foot. He caught 3 for 45 in a touchdown. He's listed as questionable this week, but is expected to play. Romeo Doubs led receivers with 2 catches for 68 yards, and Josh Jacobs ran 19 times for 66 yards and 1 touchdown. The offensive line didn't allow a sack. They didn't allow a sack to the Detroit Lions.
Jimmy, they didn't allow a pressure. They didn't allow a pressure to the Detroit Lions.
The Lions scored 33.2 points per game last season and didn't get into the end zone until the final minute against the tough Green Bay defense. Micah Parsons' first game as a Packer pass rush was formidable. Parsons had a sack. Rashawn Gary had one. Devontae Wyatt, 1.5. Devontae Wyatt had one. And Lucas Ben Ness had a half sack. The Packers got 9 hits on Jared Goff. The red zone defense looks excellent. They looked excellent. They held the Lions to just 1-4. That lone TD came in garbage time. Evan Williams had an interception. Nate Hobbs, who had been listed as questionable, did not play. Cornerback Nate Hobbs did not play after undergoing knee surgery during training camp. They hope he's back here for week 2. Cornerback Bo Melton, shoulder. Defensive lineman Brenton Cox, groin. Offensive tackle Zach Tom with a hip injury. And guard Aaron Banks left in the second half with an ankle injury. They're all listed as questionable this week. Here we go, Troy. Our Thursday nighter. Commanders, Packers at Lambeau. Take it away.
Jesus, when I really listen to Jimmy Cap in that game and just talking about it from a philosophical standpoint, I'm just thinking to myself, all these different notes, you're just like, you're making my pitch now way longer and way more extravagant because there's so much to cover in this game. That's how every single game is on the board. But this one's particularly interesting to me because there's 2 things that I went into the season talking about. Well, actually one thing between these 2 teams, the Commanders being overrated, regressions in their future. And as we were in our futures episode talking about the Packers, I started to realize when we were talking about that 9.5 juice to the over, pretty much the line that stuck out to me the most was the Packers team total over because the bookies clearly had respect for them. At least in my opinion. So immediately I started looking them into a different light. And I started to remember my old handicaps on Jordan Love and my belief in this kid. And when I look at this offense, I look at the metrics of, what LaFleur is running. And I'm just like, this fits Jordan Love's, skill set so well. The play action, he had the most attempts out of play action in week 1. Didn't lead in yards. And that's because a guy from the Colts absolutely balled in play action. But the most attempts, and, he likes to very polarized. He wants to throw it deep. He wants to throw it short. They have a running back. They're running RPO, which he's completed at least 30, 40 yards on this past week. I think this offense is going to be really difficult. They allowed 0 pressures. That's one of the most mind-blowing things about this game. And you saw Jordan Love sit back there clean as day. It's because of the use of RPO. It's because of the use of play action. But it's also the offensive line still has to be quality to do that. This offense might be pretty scary to deal with, especially if Jordan Love stays healthy, both physically and mentally, because he seems kind of like he might be a little bit mentally weak. But damn, this Packers team really stuck out to me, and it was a great setup for him in week 1, right? So here I am, overreaction. Week 2 is the week of overreactions. I should have prefaced everything I said with some numbers, but I'll talk about them when they matter. And it's going to be hard to figure out what the Packers defense is really going to be. It was a terrible spot. You got Goff outdoors with a new coordinator, a new offensive line that looked terrible. by the way, especially relative to his old offensive line. This is not going to be the Lions' offense of past years. I think that's pretty clear evidence from what we've seen. I mean, what they average 3.8 yards per play for this Lions team that averaged like 35 points last year. I know it's week one. I do think they're going to get better throughout the season, but I don't think they're going to, in 5 days, be able to fix their issues at the offensive line and, with the offensive play calling, because it definitely looked way different, significantly different. Even the tempo of the game seemed different, and it's to be expected. And I thought it's all about the Packers. Now, what about the Commanders? Their defense is not what we've seen against the Giants. That offers us a reason to fade them. I look at this number, Jim, and I know you see it as kind of moving back, but obviously the book that I use and the book that I use to populate my database is Penny. And I map this game out and I see an incredible trend in almost any way you slice it. If I take the larger sample, all 5 of the different samples together, the home team wins this game 60 and 22, 71% of the time. That means historically this market, the home team has played more like a minus 250 than like a minus 180 or whatever they are right now. But I am looking at this Packers team. I want to continue to fade the Commanders, especially after that defensive performance. I think the offense is going to be good. Jane Daniels, he performed. But a lot of his play is just like Caleb Williams to some extent. Like, he's not delivering in the pocket as much as you'd like to see him. Way more than Caleb Williams is. But it wasn't as clean. That offense was not clean and buttoned up. I want to bet the Packers. I will have action on the Packers. I was wondering if I should wait and just take the 3, but I look at the money line price and I'm like, sometimes you just got to pay the juice if you know it's a profitable play, and I see this as a profitable play on the money line.
Wow,
Jimmy, what was my record last year on this price range on the money line? I think I went 5-0.
It was very successful. So really interesting stuff coming from the chat. TJ says this is so obvious. You saw one game, give me Washington plus the points over reaction. He says everyone thinks Washington didn't perform, but let's not forget they won a divisional game by margin. TJ says he will be huge on.
Yeah. They were begging the Giants to come back into that game. Absolutely begging them.
AM's power ratings set this up where he sets this line at 3. So when it moved to 4, he moved on the Commanders. I need the books to show their hand.
So wait, I mean, the 3.5 is not showing their hand. Who went farther in the playoffs? Who? And you're talking about being a public side. I see the Commanders being totally a public side, especially amongst the group that I, grew up with and that I played football with in college. The Commanders had a walk in the park in week 1 at home. Now they go on the road for the first time on the season, hostile environment against a true contender. I think we're going to find out who the ceiling, what the ceiling and floor looks like this year. Where the Commanders, what would they do on the road last year? I know they had one big win, a few in the playoffs. I mean, Jane Daniels is going to put the team in the game anytime, any day of the week. But this defense, who has the path of least resistance? It's the Packers. Obviously, on a short week at home on prime time, you got a rest advantage. There's a lot. I think it's reflected in the line. I see 3.5 and a 3 like this is strong.
It was strong when it moved to 4. 3.5 at plus 102 is not strong to me.
The 3.5 at plus 102, but the minus 180 is more of a minus 3.5 type of price. I think it's crazy that a minus 3, the price range, and this is a key numbers. This is what key numbers will do. A minus 3. So say there's the home team's minus 3. The range over the past 3 years has been from minus 121 to minus 185. It's a massive range. We're sitting right here at minus 180. I don't think we're going to be, and we're already down from minus 155 from the actual open.
Well, I do not want the Commanders, and I'm not going to. I understand there are some sites that tell us that this is 50-50. There are other sites that tell us the Packers are very public. I expect the Packers to be very public come Thursday night. And I'm not going to, because of that, flip over to a Commanders team that I really, really need to see Krosky Merritt deliver I need to see him do that. I need to see him do that on the road. I need to see them do that, with 5 days off
against a quality football team.
So I am off, but not fully because
look what players that leave the Giants do. Saquon Barkley wins the Super Bowl. Daniel Jones in his first ever performance for another team. What did he do? He made history. I mean, the Giants are a damned organization that was not a quality opponent at all in week 1 of the season.
The under appeals to me, though. I don't believe the Commanders are going to be able to comfortably move the ball on the ground. And I think that the Commanders' defense is going to be much better early in the year as they're an old group. They're a veteran group, and they're healthy right now. Did you have any interest on trying to get under this total?
I am not going to play with that right now. I'm just going to stick to the side because I look at the higher total range, and this market is moving towards the under. It looks to be pretty tricky. Looks to be pretty tricky with a potential blowout range. And
I have interest in this under. I'm not moving on it tonight. I want to study it a little more and see what happens with the market. At what point do you think you're going to pull the trigger and it will be on Packers money line?
I am going to pull the trigger today, at least on a money line parlay with the Packers in it. I might bet the money line if I was really hoping for like a minus 170. I'd feel very comfortable with that, but we'll see where it goes. I will definitely have action on it. And I'm thinking about what you're talking about. You think about these quarterbacks. They're not going to turn the ball over, which is not going to, be the quick change of field and points up right away, quick points. The under makes a lot of sense. If it goes under, I bet you it goes way under.
I'm really interested in it. So I want to see where it goes. I want to marinate with it a little longer, but I'm very interested in the under. And we have a Packers money line going to be used in a parlay to start and could be used in more variations by our Troy Torrence. That's our Thursday nighter. Join us for our live stream right here at 7:20 p.m. Eastern.